Good evening, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of A Word with Pastor Webb. I'm your host, Pastor Webb, and we have a very special guest this evening, Dr. Althea Walker. Please help me to salute and celebrate my friend and sister, Dr. Walker. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
How was your drive?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
No
Just a few minute drive.
No traffic?
No, I was good.
No bumper to bumper?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, we're not going to prolong the time. What's your story? Tell me how you grew up.
Well, I am originally from Lexington, Kentucky. I relocated here to Florida in 2005. And growing up, I was the youngest of 4 children on my mom's side. Mm-hmm. Being the baby of the family, I guess I would kind of say that there was always pressure to try to grow up and, you know, be held a little bit more accountable by my siblings. But even now, with all the upbringing that we had and the support that I've had from them, we are closer than ever before.
Okay. Kentucky?
Kentucky. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to Kentucky Derby?
I have not been to Kentucky Derby, surprisingly. I have not been.
But you're from Kentucky.
I'm from Kentucky. It's one of those things when you live there, like everyone hypes it up,
right.
But it's like, okay.
Just a Derby.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Give me 3 words that best describe you.
One of the first words would be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say persistent because when I have my mindset on a particular goal, or when I know what whatever purpose I need to accomplish, that's what I'm going to fulfill.
Okay.
Inquisitive, in that I am the one that even though I may receive information, I'll listen to it, but I want to hear all sides and all perspectives.
Okay.
So it's just one of those opportunities to where I just kind of like to research and kind of figure out things myself. And then I would say the third word that would describe me would be that of being very observant. Okay. I may not say anything, but I am watching. I am listening, and I'm trying to, my husband tells me I think about things too much, but I am always kind of processing and analyzing situations and people. So
not what they say, but what they do.
Correct, because what oftentimes might take place is that people will say one thing, but their actions are poorly aligned to what they're saying.
Okay. Now, why did you choose your profession, and tell me about your employment?
Okay. Well, it depends on which employment you're referring to. So for myself, I serve as a department manager for recruitment for Hillsborough County Public Schools, and we're the 7th largest school district in the United States. We're the 3rd largest school district in the state of Florida. Wow. And in addition to that, I serve as an adjunct instructor of psychology for Hillsborough Community College, the South Shore campus, which is down in the Ruskin area. And
HCC?
HCC.
Oh, okay.
And then I also serve as an adjunct instructor for the Graduate College of Education courses for Grand Canyon University.
Okay. So China is who's the provost for the HCC?
Dr. Jennifer China.
Yeah, okay.
She is our president of the South Shore campus.
Okay. So how did you get the job? How did you get your job? Did you apply for the HR job?
So yes, with all those positions, you always have to apply for it. But I feel like I always tell people I took a non-traditional route to my position. And I have to be honest with you, that the way that I honestly got my job was through God. Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and call it anything else.
Through God.
It was nothing but God.
But God.
And the reason why I say that was because I've served as a classroom teacher. I was an English and reading high school teacher, transitioned into serving as a peer evaluator. And at that time in our district, a peer evaluator represented a former classroom teacher who was now helping to observe and support other classroom teachers.
Okay.
I was working on my doctorate degree. At that time, I just had a baby. So when I started my doctoral program, my daughter was about 8 months old.
Okay.
I'm a glutton for pain, I guess.
Okay.
So she's about 6 or 8 months old. My second daughter was 6 or 8 months old.
Okay.
Started the doctoral program. Once I completed the doctoral program, I was like, okay, well, I have this doctorate degree. I know there's more that I want to do. And here's the other thing that took place, Pastor Webb. My students were ministering to me. Wow. And I didn't realize it at the time. I would have students who would say to me, and at the time I wasn't Dr. Walker, I was Mrs. Walker. Mrs. Walker, why are you a teacher? Well, what do you mean, why am I a teacher? Well, you should be more than a teacher because you act more like the administrator.
Wow.
Oh. It was like they would just say little things and they were planting seeds within me.
Right.
And I now know later on that was God planting those seeds. Sweetheart, these little 4 walls, the little key that you keep opening up the door to, that's temporary. because I have better things in store for you. And so when the position or the opportunity came open, I applied for it. One of the district level leaders had let me know that the position was open, so I applied for it. And I'm thinking, I haven't done any work in HR. I've been in school. I've been in the classroom.
Right.
Now, the work that I had done in HR wasn't related to education. The work I had done in HR was my husband and I, we had operated a summer camp for like 3 months.
Okay.
And then once I got my position, it's kind of like, oh, that's a little too much to try to manage, whatever have you. But we operated a summer camp together, and then also too, he was building up his landscaping company.
Okay.
So that was my experience in regards to HR. So it's one of those things that as people, you start to kind of, I guess, devalue at times the work or the knowledge that you do have. It's like, you know what, let me step out on faith and let me try this.
Amen.
Got the position, and the rest is kind of history. It's one of those things that is more natural now. When people talk to me, they're like, oh yeah, you sound like you in HR.
Wow. So you're responsible for hiring people, or?
Well, I'm not responsible for hiring people, but I'm responsible for helping the hiring managers to find applicants. And so I help with the marketing and the advertising for the positions, making sure the applicants are prepared for the positions that they would potentially have.
Okay.
So yeah.
Perfect. Now, what are some of the pressures that come along with being a Black female in this position?
I would say the first one is making sure that people accept you for the knowledge that you do have.
Amen.
Also, too, I have had to learn to make sure that I'm always speaking my truth. Even if the truth may hurt others, I have to be open and honest with myself and with others. And with that, I have had to have some sincere conversations, because as a Black woman and as an educated Black woman, when I'm giving information, at times it has been perceived as, well, why are you talking loudly to me? Well, naturally, I have a strong voice.
Right.
I'm talking with you. What do you mean by that? And so it's also where I've had to just kind of had some opportunities to talk to individuals about, why does it seem like there's a perception that I'm being aggressive rather than assertive. And let me tell you, it has been uncomfortable conversations, but sometimes we have to be uncomfortable to really address those underlying issues.
Wow. I like it. Now, what would you tell a young girl who wants to go into your profession?
I would say the most important thing is to ensure that you have all knowledge that's needed. If you need to go back to school, then you need to go back to school. If you need to interact with other individuals who can help expand your knowledge, then that's what you need to do. Sometimes the most frustrating thing is when you're trying to transfer knowledge to other individuals and they're blocking it.
Wow.
Which means you're also blocking a potential blessing that is going to come your way. And I've seen it so many ways where I have even shared with people, let me help mentor you. Now, I'm being mentored myself. And I tell people, I need a mentor. I'm going to have you as my mentor now.
Right.
I'm going to volunteer you that you're my mentor. But then when I try to provide those same opportunities, sometimes people don't want to listen. And then I'll see where it turns into a negative consequence for them. It's kind of like, I can't say that I didn't try.
Right. Okay. What are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I'm a homebody by nature, so once I get home from work, I just love to just be free.
Okay.
And I'm just going to leave it at that. I just love to be free. But honestly, love traveling.
Okay.
My family will probably tell you that when we travel, especially when we go out of the country or something of that nature, well, this is all pre-COVID too, keep in mind. But when we travel, as soon as that plane lands, we'll drop our stuff off at the hotel room. We're going nonstop.
Nonstop.
We're going to do some excursions. We're going to walk. We're going to take a cab. We're going to do everything.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you see as the biggest struggle in hiring qualified staff people?
I would say, well, I want to give that. In regards to your question, I want to answer it from like two different angles.
Okay.
So from a hiring manager perspective, it would be probably the greatest challenge or struggle is making sure you know exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
Who is it that you need in that position? It's not so much what is the position, but who you need to fill that position.
Okay.
You can have a position, it could be whether it's the church organist or it could be the janitor or the custodian. what type of personality are you looking for? How would that person interact with other people? So it's identifying who is the person that you need for that position. And then 2, from the hiring manager perspective, is also at times you might have to compromise. No one's perfect, right? And oftentimes what I see is that there could be some potentially good candidates, but hiring managers might be looking for the perfect one.
Perfect candidate, right?
Well, quite frankly, are you perfect? No.
No.
So it's kind of like, how can we give other people an opportunity? How can we coach them? How can we mentor them and help them to reach their highest potential possible? Now, from the applicant standpoint, the challenge in regards to trying to be a great applicant is becoming humble. Realizing that just because you say that you are the right person for the job, just because you feel like you went to school and maybe you got your bachelor's degree, doesn't mean that somebody owes you $75,000 a year.
A year, yeah.
So we got to learn to be humble. Yeah, go for what it is that you want to go for, but then look at it as a stepping stone, an opportunity. Let me get into this position. There are other things that might be available for me, because even with myself, going back to your question earlier in regards to how did I get my position in HR, it was one of the things I had been praying about. Okay, well, God, expand my territories. Let me know when it's time for me to move forward.
Right.
Like I said, he was already planting the seeds with my students ministering to me, and I didn't realize that at the time. And then when the opportunity came open, I applied for it, and lo and behold, it became more of a natural fit to me, or for me.
Right.
And so it's just kind of waiting your turn too. Did I fit everything perhaps on the job description? No. But the thing that probably set me apart from other people was that I was willing to learn. I was willing to listen. I was willing to realize that out there you don't have all the answers. You're going to need that person, that person, that person, and that person to help you be successful.
So humility.
Humility, all the way around.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now, if you had one wish, what would it be? Just one wish. Not 2, just one.
It's going to be a selfish wish. One of the things that people may not know about me is that for my mother, so like I said, I'm from Kentucky, so most of my family is back in Kentucky. My family here in Florida are my husband's side of the family. You know, now we're all family, right? But my family that I grew up with are all back in Kentucky, parts of Ohio. My mother is critically ill in Kentucky, so honestly, if I had one wish, I would want her health and who she is as a person to be restored to the way she used to be.
Amen. I can understand that.
So that's why I said it would be selfish.
Nothing like a mama. Amen. Okay, what is the one thing that some may know, but others may not know about you? Dig deep. The one thing.
I guess there are so many different things that I could go with in regards to that one. I would say when people look at me, they probably have this perception that I am like snooty or rather uppity.
Oh.
But one of the things people may not realize would be that I can be kind of goofy, and I don't mind getting my hands dirty. So my husband owns his own landscaping company. So once we finish here today, I am going to go and help my husband. We're going to be cutting the yard. We're going to be doing some landscaping work. So yeah, my nails are polished, they're manicured or whatever have you. I don't mind to get dirty.
Get dirty. Hey,
I do not.
All right. Okay.
I do not.
So you don't mind getting dirty?
I do not mind getting dirty.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm one of those people that I have no problem with doing the types of work that other people may not always see as being of uttermost importance. Like even when we were operating our summer camp, I remember it was kind of funny because I would lease out part of a church facility because they had like an auditorium type of thing for us. So I was leasing out the auditorium, and I remember the pastor of the church came to me one day, and he's like, "Hey, Althea, I just want to know, what cleaning company are you guys using?" He was like, "Because every day when you guys have cleaned up or what have you, our bathrooms and for our facilities are extremely clean, and I want to see if we can possibly get a contract with them." I looked at him and I said, "That company is me."
Yeah, amen. So you knew how to get down.
But here's the thing, I knew how to get down to respect.
Amen.
The blessings that have been placed in front of me, because for me it's all about service. So he provided us with the service to allow us to use his facility for our camp. I needed to provide a service by making sure I took care of the facilities, because he didn't have to do that.
Amen. Good stewards. Yeah, I love it.
Correct.
I love it. All right, now, what are some of the early mistakes you have made in life that you had to overcome?
I would say the biggest one, and this is one of the ones that we talk to our 20-year-old about the most, is that, yeah, people warn me, especially my brother, because like I said, I'm the youngest of 4 children, but my brother will always say, oh, Althea, when you get in college, make sure you don't get a credit card or anything of that nature. And I didn't. My undergrad year, I was good, had scholarships, had grants. My undergraduate was taken care of. I didn't start to have student loans until I decided that I wanted to go to grad school and get my master's in clinical psychology. That's when I started to take out credit cards. And so my earliest regret would be I had the knowledge about finances. I did not have the discipline.
Amen. That's key, discipline.
To make sure that I didn't allow those things to overpower me. Because I was also trying to keep up with my friends. You know, like, I'm like, gosh, you got a brand new pair of jeans. There's a party. Oh, let me go get me an outfit too. I'm putting on the credit card.
Wow.
I'm going to pay it off when I get paid again. So I would say that was my biggest regret, was like going into debt when there was no reason for me to go into debt.
Right. Okay.
There was no reason.
Okay. Well, now you married and got kids. How do you balance family and work?
Some days are better than others.
Okay.
I would say the first thing is always to acknowledge that you are one person and you are a person.
Amen.
We're not God.
Amen.
We're not perfect in any way. And so we will have family meetings to kind of talk about, okay, everybody's been kind of going back and forth. We need to kind of come together. What can we do as a family? Or sometimes, and my husband is awesome about this, where he'll be like, you know what, we all have been kind of stressed out. Why don't we just go for a little weekend? Let's go do this. Okay. You know, but one, acknowledging that you're a human being first, kind of looking at your schedule, your calendar, and just kind of saying, you know what, where can I plug in time, one, for myself, and then also time to be with my loved ones. Okay. Because at the end of the day, I'm who I am because of the people around me. Amen,
amen. Now, you talk about your husband. I brought him up several times. How did you meet your husband?
All right, so with my husband, we met in college. So we met as undergrads at West Kentucky University. Okay. And it's kind of comical and it's funny, and he's probably going to be like, why did you talk about that? But anyway, we were undergrads, so his best friend at the time was dating my best friend. Okay. So the 4 of us would kind of hang out. We would go bowling and all that other stuff, and then because those 2 were dating, we would sit there like, look at them, they look pathetic. They are just so sickening. Okay. Because I wasn't trying to have a boyfriend, he wasn't trying to have a girlfriend. Right. Naturally, things just kind of progress, and it's kind of like, okay, well, he's kind of cool. He was different too. That's the other thing too that I always will say about Deshaun. He was different than the other guys in college. The other guys, they're walking around with dirty T-shirts on, basketball shorts, probably smelling, you know. I mean, cool people, but you know, just didn't care how they looked. But he will have on like polo shirts. His shorts were ironed. He would have on penny loafers or something of that nature. It's like, oh wow, he walks differently. He handles himself differently. And so it was just kind of a natural thing. And so we've been together since. I always tease him that he had to come to Kentucky and find him a real woman.
Leave Polk County, go to Kentucky. Yeah. Wow. Well, talk about your in-laws now.
Oh my gosh, love them to death. Okay. Love them to death. So my mother and father in love, and so we refer to each other as in-loves instead of in-laws.
I like that.
Just supportive the entire time. When Deshaun, and to this day they tell me that they still have the letter, when Deshaun and I first started dating, remember he's from Lakeland, Florida, I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. So they were like, oh, he spent a lot of time with this girl, I think at the time, because he's always going to be the daddy's baby or whatever have you, even though he's the oldest of the boys. I guess at that time he was feeling pressure from his dad. Man, you spend a lot of time with this girl. You need to go to school and get your education. Be focused on this girl or whatever have you. Now his dad tells me that when Deshaun came home from school a few months later, he said, Dad, I found my wife. Wow. Now I didn't find this out until like years later, but he apparently went home and told his dad, I found my wife. And so he would tell me like, yeah, I don't think my parents really like you. So what I did, I wrote a letter to his parents. Wow. I told them about myself. Now, I had talked with them a few times on the phone, nothing long or whatever have you. I just like, hey, how are you doing, that type of thing. But I wrote them a letter telling them who I was, what my goals were in life or whatever have you, and just kind of sharing that I cared about Deshaun or what have you. Wow. And I think that might have been the catalyst for them that like, oh, she's not any other kind of female. She wrote us a letter. Wow. Saying, like, wait a minute, don't think that I'm anything less than. Wow. You know, And I guess it's more or less, when I reflect on it, I'm kind of thinking like, I was kind of telling them in the beginning, wait a minute, I'm about to bless you and your son.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah.
You've been accepting me. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Now, what has been your biggest loss?
It would go back to my mother.
Okay.
Yeah, not having her in a place to where we can communicate the way that we need
Amen.
to. Yeah.
Amen.
So yeah,
Amen.
I still have her here.
Right.
She's still here, but of course, the relationship dynamics are different just because of her physical and her medical state. So yeah.
All right. Now, what are you most proud of?
I would say that I am most proud of the fact that even though I probably didn't grow up under the best situation or circumstances, I overcame. Okay. And I always think back to a sermon that I heard from Bishop T.D. Jakes where he just talked about poverty as a mindset. Growing up with my mother who worked like I don't know what, 2 or 3 jobs. Wow. She made sure that we didn't ever have to want for anything, but we always knew we didn't have as much as the other kids, right? We knew that type of a thing. But she made sure that she took care of us no matter what, and she made sure that we stayed together as a family unit. And so the successes that I have today, I look back on that because if I didn't go through those adverse situations, wow, it wouldn't have made me the individual that I am today. Mm-hmm. So it could be as simple as I remember growing up where we would have to catch the city bus to go to the grocery store. And then you get the city bus to come back and then you walk in several blocks with groceries in your hand. Well, now I can get in my car and drive to Publix. Amen. When I want to, as opposed to being on the city bus schedule time. Wow. And so it's those little things there to where with my own children, they don't have to worry about those things. Right. They've never been on a city bus. They've rode in a taxi, and that was because we were traveling. Amen. But not because they needed to do that because there was no other form of transportation. So when I look at the things that we do have, whether it's a car, and I don't have any car payments, right? We have a car, we have a house to live in. I'm like, but God. But God. There it is. And it's mine. Amen. I don't owe anybody. It is mine. Amen. And so I'm thankful for that. Amen. 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 Now, if you could trade places with one person, who would that be? I'm smiling because it's like I would want to, but then I think I'd be afraid of what he would think. It would honestly be God. He would be God. Yeah. Okay. If I could trade places with God, I would just want to know what is he thinking when he looks at me, when he looks at my life. What is he saying? You know what? She needs to be doing this. I want to know. I want to get that feedback in regards to what direction should I be taking? Because as a human being, right, we can say we listen. We are not always the best listeners. That's right. That's right. And so I just want to know from his honest, authentic perspective, what it is that I should be doing. What are those areas that I should clean up? I don't know. It's just that's immediately what comes to my mind. Right. It would scare me too. I know. I should. So if he was God, if he was God, would you pay back those folks who did you wrong? Ah, boom. But see, if I was God, I would learn how I should have treated them, perhaps even better than what I did. All right. In my mind, I probably thought, okay, I did what I did. I did the right thing, right, but maybe there was even a better way that I could have assisted or responded. Okay, okay. So that's why it would be interesting. Well, it will lead me into my next question. Okay. How has God played a role in your success? Talk about it. How has he not? Talk about it. When I think about it, and it even goes back to what I was talking about earlier with my position in the district. Mm-hmm. If everyone else could have had their way, that wasn't my position, because every other manager that had been in that position, they had always been a site-based administrator, typically a principal. One had been an assistant principal. I've never been a site-based administrator. Mm-hmm. For me, that wasn't my calling. And at least let me put it this way, it may not be my calling just yet, right? Right. But it just wasn't on my trajectory in life or what have you. The opportunity came open. And as I tell everyone, and I've had people, and sometimes people were asking me for ulterior reasons or in a negative way, wow, how did I get my job? There it is. Mm-hmm. My response has always been, God. God.
Yeah.
Because if man had his or her way,
Amen.
I never would have been there because I didn't fit the traditional
Wow.
route.
Wow. But God.
But God.
My. All right. And any closing words for our listening audience?
I would say first and foremost, develop your spiritual life.
Amen.
You are the only one that can develop that relationship with God.
Amen.
When you begin to develop that relationship with God, you have to listen.
Amen.
Because even for myself, I remember, and this is going to go back to my relationship with my husband, and I think this is important to share. There was a time period where we kind of hit, this was before we got married, right? So this is where I was like, oh, I thought he was going to be my husband. Why isn't he doing right? You know, what's going on? And I remember I was looking in the mirror one day and I was washing my face or what have you, and I literally felt like I heard the voice of God say, you keep asking me to make him the husband you want him to be. I'm trying to get you ready to be the wife I need you to be for him.
Amen. Amen.
So this entire time I kept praying for him, and God was like, girl, I've been working on you. So it's like developing your spiritual life.
Amen.
And then listening.
Listen.
And then serve.
Serve.
I tell everyone, I do not work in Hillsborough County Public Schools. I do not work at HCC. I do not work at Grand Canyon University. I serve.
Serve. My. Serving.
I serve.
Well done. Now, good and faithful serving.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Last question of the day. What is the best talk show in the land?
A Word with Pastor Webb.
Thank you, my sister. Glad you came on the show. And to my listening audience, until next time, may God bless you real good.